What's up everyone, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids doing a head-to-head between this Thrunite TN40 and the Nitecore TM16GT. So these are obviously very large flashlights. They're meant for searchlight type use and spotting things in dark when you need a ton of throw and a ton of light. Your price point for the Thrunite is going to be around $250. The Nitecore is going to run you from $200 up to $250, $260, even up to $270, depending on how many batteries you get, the charger system that you get with it. So it's going to be a pretty broad range depending on how much money you want to invest. I'll go through some of the specs on each one of these lights, very similar in size and shape. But there are some significant differences that you probably should know, and it'll help you to figure out which one of these would function best for you in that type of scenario. Full disclosure, as I always like to do, Thrunite sent me this light for review, and they actually paid for me to buy this Nitecore so we could do this head-to-head competition. I'm always happy when they do that just because it shows they have confidence in their product, and also they give me the freedom to talk honestly about what I think. There's sometimes the Thrunites have won, sometimes they haven't won. So we're going to put it head-to-head with the TN40 and see how these two compare. All right, let's look at the Thrunite first, and then we'll look at the Nitecore. Then we'll take them outside and test them. Let's start off and talk about what you actually get with the Thrunite. So you're going to get your charging cable. You can see it has a standard plug, and then it has a tiny little input here that goes into the end of the light. It basically looks like a plug that you'd have for your laptop computer. A plus of this is that you plug it into the wall, you plug it in, charge it up, you're good to go. This comes with a battery built in, so you don't have to buy a bunch of 18650s or something like that. I actually thought that this worked on 4 18650s, so I requested some, and you could tell that my contact over at Thrunite was like, I'm not totally sure why you're requesting them. And then eventually I figured out, no, the light is actually, the battery is actually built in. You're just going to plug the cable in the end and charge it up. So you get that, you get your standard O-rings and switch replacements and things like that. And then you get a lanyard system that's basically built to go around, kind of over your shoulder as opposed to around your neck, obviously, because this thing is large and in charge. It's not a tiny little light. Here's a quick look at the light. It's on the strap. I basically call this a sling at this point, but it's going to, there's kind of true pressure points here. Let's see if I can take this out here. A little bit hard once it's all set up. Yeah, there you go. So you got these two little pressure points, squeeze them together, and then release them, and then you've got a clip here. And so that's how it's going to actually run on your body. And then when you want to turn it on, obviously just grab the light and turn it on like so. So those are your accessories. Let's talk through some of the functional details. You have Firefly, low, medium, high, turbo, and strobe as well. Firefly is 1.2 lumens. That's going to run for 57 days, which is pretty impressive. Your low setting is 90 lumens. That's going to run for 2.5 days. Medium is 580 lumens. That's for 9.5 hours. High is 1780 lumens. That's for 2.7 hours. Turbo is 4,450 lumens, and that's for 85 minutes. And your strobe is going to be at 1,100 lumens. That's going to run for 9 hours. Okay, so we're looking at the bottom end of the light. Basically, here's where you're going to lift this little tab up and plug in the plug to charge it up. Now, how do you know when it is fully charged? Well, you got a couple different things. There's a little light here. When I press this, you'll see it'll either be flashing red, purple, flashing blue, or blue. And I'll make it dark there so you can see that's blue. And here's what it tells you is that if it's flashing red, you're from 1 to 25% charge. Flashing purple, 25 to 50. Flashing blue, 50 to 95. And blue steady light means 96 up to 100% charged. So that's basically how you're going to know. I will tell you that when I took this off and was putting the whole thing together, there was a tiny little strip inside the light, down toward the head of the light, of plastic that I could not see, and so that had to be removed. That keeps it from running when it's being shipped. So just be aware that you got to find that piece of plastic and remove it. It's not a clear sheet. It's just a little plastic ring right on the battery pack. So that's basically just something you should know so you can actually not get frustrated like I did for a while trying to figure out what the heck to do with it. Here's a quick look straight down into the light. You can see you got your 4 LEDs, just ton of reflecting power going on in there. And we'll take this outside in a minute to show you what it looks like in use. I'm going to run through the functions real quick. I will let you know that it's just going to be blinding on the camera, but I'll show you how it actually goes through the different options as far as your output. So hold the button down here on the side, and it's going to come on at that Firefly setting. You can see that it's on very low, and then hold it down. It's going to cycle through 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2. Now when I say 2, it's basically going to your second setting or your low setting. It won't go back to that Firefly setting unless you turn it off and then hold down the button and then it'll come back on at Firefly. And if you want to get it to go to turbo, you go, so it's on, and then I'm going to double click, it's going to go up to the turbo setting. Double click again, it'll go to strobe, and then click again, and it'll go off. Okay, let's talk through the Nitecore real quick. You can see you get a couple extra O-rings, you get the lanyard, and you get a piece of string. I believe it's to attach the lanyard, to the actual light. Some of the details on this light. So you've got a bunch of different settings. They have what they call a lower setting, and that's similar to Firefly. So it goes lower, that's 5 lumens. That's going to run for 610 hours. Low is 210 lumens. That's for 2 hours. Medium or mid, which is 500 lumens. That's going to run for 7 hours and 15 minutes. The high, which is 1500 lumens, that's going to run for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And then your turbo, which is 3600 lumens, that's going to run for 1 hour. It is impact resistant to 1.5 meters, and it is waterproof and submersible, IPX8 rated, so down to 2 meters. One thing I do want to note is that this is going to use 4 18650 batteries, so you got to have the batteries or you got to buy the batteries. Also, it notes that it only operates with what they call button top 18650s, not the flat top 18650s. And that's important to know because the first ones I tried in here were 4 Samsung flat top batteries, and I couldn't actually use them in here, so I had to swap a bunch of flashlights around to make sure I had the right batteries to actually use in the light. Obviously, they're going to recommend Nitecore 18650s, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as you have quality 18650s. Don't buy junk because they can actually ruin your light. All right, so similar to the Thrunite, you're going to hold the power button down. You basically have a power button and a selector switch. Hold the power button down. It's going to come on and give you the lower setting equivalent to your Firefly, and then tap the other button to scroll through. So that's lower, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lower, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's pretty much it. Hold the power button down and it'll go off. As far as your overall fit and finish, I would say very similar. Both look really good, high quality. I think I do like the texturing on the Thrunite a little bit more, a little bit grippier, and especially if you're out searching for somebody or something when it's rainy or really dark out there. There's dew, there's moisture in the air. I think you're just gonna have a little bit of a better grip on the Thrunite. First test here, we're actually in my office. Lower setting. Again, so that's 5 lumens. We're gonna go 5, 210, 500, 1500, and then 3600. So as you can see, shining it around, even on this 5 lumens, I can see the office a little bit here. Let me start scrolling through. That's up on the up on that picture down there. So now we're up to 210 lumens, 500 lumens, 1500. I mean, this place is lit up, and at 3600, get ready. Yeah, so I mean, if I shine it like over there, I realize it's kind of blinding you on the camera. But if I put this up high, I mean, nobody's hiding in this place at 3600 lumens. So more realistically, if I was using this in the office, this is at 210 lumens. I'd probably use this to walk around. And this is not built for inside, but if you had, a situation where you really wanted a ton of light inside, this thing would definitely work. Both these lights also do tail stand as well. There's our third setting, which is 500 lumens, 15, and 36 again. All right, let's go over to the Thrunite. We've got the Thrunite now. We're going to start at 1.2 lumens and then work up to 90, 580, 1780, and eventually we'll double click to get you that 4450 lumens. All right, so here's barely, you can see that 1.2 lumens. Now we're going to turn that off and we'll start scrolling through here. 1.2, 90, 580, 1780, 90, 580, 1780, 90, 580, 1780. I mean, again, you can see everything here. This is semi-blinding, just shining it off the wall down there. I'll double click to the turbo here. And yeah, it's basically like daylight in here at this point. 4,450 lumens. Let's click it back to off. We'll scroll through one more time. Firefly, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Again, 90, 580, 1780. Double click here. 4,450. Just blinding. Both these lights totally blinding inside. I'm outside now, and I'm actually by one of our local rivers. Just want to show you the two lights. Imagine a scenario where like maybe I'm looking for somebody who's lost, or a canoe went over, something like that. So here's the Nitecore looking across the river, which is probably about I would say 450 feet away, and lighting up the entire side quite effectively over there. You might be able to hear some coyotes in the background. I can hear them in the distance. That's pretty cool, actually. So if I was looking over in that little inlet there and then here, so I'm looking straight across now, that's probably closer to 300 feet across. And again, pretty hot center. And I can see when I'm shining it dead ahead right there, I can see, you know, maybe over about that far. And when I'm shining straight ahead here, over to the other side, probably about that far. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of open space here to light up whatever I need to, you know, whatever I'm looking for on either side of that hot beam. So again, I would say the Nitecore has a hot center, but not as much spill as the Thrunite. So let's go to the Thrunite now. Looking with the Thrunite now, straight across, again, probably about 300 feet or so. Definitely lighten up the whole area. I mean, if there was somebody in the water or something going on in the water, I would definitely be able to see it. Looking straight across now. Again, closer to about 400 feet across. And yeah, definitely nice hot center. And again, I'm just going to say that the your spill from the Thrunite is just going to give you a broader, just a broader light. When I'm shining at that stump that's in there in the water, I can really see, you know, both over that way and over this way as well. Let's look at the two beams now. Over here on the right we have the Thrunite, and on the left we have the Nitecore. So shining up into the same woods. They don't look totally different, but yeah, I mean, probably at face value you can't see a whole lot of difference on the camera. Even looking in the woods, I definitely can't see a huge difference between the two lights at, you know, 3500 and then close to 4500 with the Thrunite. But still, I think I've got a wider center on the Thrunite over here than I do on the Nitecore. And once again, both lights are definitely getting hot. Put them together and you got a ton of light shining over there. Let's wrap up here talking about these two different lights. The first thing I'll talk about is your price point. Because both the lights are quite expensive, the price point for me is kind of a break-even thing. You know, if you're spending 25 bucks on a light, you can get one for 30 bucks that you like a little bit more. It's probably worth spending the extra $10. Considering you're spending basically over $200 for either of these lights, if you're going to spend a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what you like of the features, to me it's kind of a non-issue. So that's a break-even thing between the two lights. As far as your output, the Thrunite is going to give you more lumens. It's going to give you better spill, and also just that an overall better light as far as your overall output. So the Thrunite wins it for me on that front. They're both relatively easy to carry. I do like that sling option that comes with the Thrunite because this is a big hefty light. The Firefly feature on this, it's fine that they added in, I guess. You know, for a light this big, I'm probably almost never going to be using it on that extremely low setting. I do like the fact that with this light, you plug it in, you charge it, you get this little button here on the back. So when you press it, you can see how much the light is charged up based on what color is coming out there. I will say that I have used a Thrunite like this. I think it's the TN36 that took 4 18650s, if I remember correctly. And there's pluses and minuses to the 18650s versus the built-in battery in this one. So the plus is that, you plug this one in, it's one battery, it's not 4 different batteries, you're not losing pieces, you're not, borrowing a battery from an 18650 to use in another light and then forgetting to put it back in. So, with one battery system, you plug it in, you plug it into the wall, you're good to go. The 4 18650s for this, as I mentioned, I got the wrong kind, so I had to use different 18650s and swap a bunch of batteries around. So just be aware, if you're going to buy the tiny monster, you want to get those 18650s that have a little nub on the end as opposed to those flat top ones. The advantage of the 18650 is that you can charge them more easily in a car by using, your charging system that you just put into basically like a cigarette lighter. With this light, it's a little bit harder to do. You have to have basically an adapter system. Now that said, both these lights are going to be great for using as searchlights. And if I'm going to put this in my car, I'm going to basically make sure I have the adapter system so I can plug the plug in and get this thing charged up and ready to go. That said, unless you're using this light a ton all the time, you're probably not going to have to charge it up, all the time. So it's something you could keep in your car. You just want to check, and you can do it easily. Again, tap that end button. Okay, if it drops down to the lower level, you'll know by the light, and you should take it out and charge it up. Shouldn't be a huge issue. Both lights do throw the beam really well. The Thrunite was just supremely impressive. There are some lights that I've tested, and I'm like, yeah, it's a decent light, but based on the reflectors, the LEDs they're using, and the amount of power that's coming out of the light, it doesn't throw as far as I would like. And that was actually my experience a couple months ago, actually almost a year ago, doing an overnight. I had a Princeton Tech headlamp, and there was a beaver out in this pond that I was by, and because the light was really good up close, but the throw wasn't that great, I couldn't see the beaver. I needed something with much more throw, and this one just throws and throws and throws and throws. So that's quite impressive. You saw it out there. I was looking across the river and quite easily able to spot if anything was out there in the woods. Long-term durability is always a question for me, just to see how things are going to hold up. So we're going to test these more and more and see how they actually do. And as always, I'll report in to let you know, who comes out the victor in the competition. And in this one, I'd pick the Thrunite over the Tiny Monster from Nitecore. I do like the Tiny Monster. It didn't function poorly, no major issues, but I do think bang for the buck, you're getting more out of the Thrunite. So I'd encourage you to check that out if you're looking for a big, hefty spotlight that you can use in a variety of different settings, and also one that's pretty easy to charge as far as plug it in here, plug it into your wall, and you're good to go. I'm not sure if I'm gonna actually put this in my car, as I've been thinking about it more and more, or if I'm actually set this up as like an emergency home light, for various situations or scenarios. It's also something I could keep ready to go, so I could grab it at home and then head out if I needed to do so. I actually have a Nitecore and a Thrunite in my two other cars that I think they throw over 1,000 lumens each, so I've already got a nice hefty light out there. So maybe this will end up being a emergency light for home. Maybe I'll put this one in the office. We'll have to see. But yeah, so there you go. We were looking at the Tiny Monster TM16GT from Nitecore, and we put it up against the TN40 from Thrunite. Both good performers, but again, in this one, the nod is going to go to Thrunite as far as taking the victory. Thanks as always for checking out our videos. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you have not done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us on Instagram and Tumblr as well. Take care.